Hi, I want you to stop for 1 second and ask yourself this question. Am I living my life for myself or am I living my life for them? Because if you're feeling pressure to act a certain way or to look a certain way or to be in a relationship by a certain age or overall, I want you to know you're not alone. So if you always find yourself in situations where maybe you say, my picker is off, or you feel uncomfortable being alone, or you find yourself in cycles of needing to be in relationships, your main problem within this cycle is settling. Being single is not the problem, settling is. Society really has placed this idea on us that we are always on this timeline, and when we're single, it's deemed to be a problem. There is an issue with you. And the truth is that I want you to start to adopt this idea, especially if what I'm saying is resonating with you. It's this idea that I am okay with being alone if it means I'm going to wait for the right person, and I'll be alone forever if that's what it takes. And this sounds like such an extreme concept. And I want you to notice your body when you start thinking of the idea of being alone forever. Does your body tense up? Do you start to go into worry? Do you have fear? But here's what happens when we start to come into radical acceptance around the idea of being alone forever, is that we automatically start to go into this position of developing the self, of pouring into the self. I remember when I was single for 4 years. There was this lady that was at a retreat and we were talking about relationships, and she asked me if I get lonely. And it didn't mean that in times there wasn't points when I was craving a relationship or I was asking myself that question, what is wrong with me? But I finally came into this acceptance of being okay with being alone forever if it meant that I didn't have to settle. And then my mind started going into spaces of, well, you know what? Maybe in this part of my life, I am not surrounded by love in a relationship dynamic, but I'm surrounded in love when it comes to my family. My family pours so much love into me and vice versa. I'm surrounded in love when it comes to my friends and my coworkers and the barista that makes my coffee. I'm surrounded in love by that little child that smiles at me when they're passing by me. There is love all around me all the time, and that in that moment was enough for me, because in that time of my life I was pouring into me. My cup was filled. I didn't need anybody else to fill it. I was developing myself. I was developing my likes. I would go and spend time alone, and I would tap into love in other ways when I needed it. So you got to ask yourself, where am I performing in my life? Where am I dressing for others? Where am I acting in a way where I am pouring into others and leaving myself on the back burner? Where am I designing my words perfectly so I avoid rejection or judgment? And you get to start flipping the script, right? Going from external validation to internal validation, where I want you to start asking yourself the question, am I dressing for me? Am I hanging out with these people for me? Am I choosing my day-to-day schedule for me? You want to start asking your inner dialect, whose relationship are you pouring into first? And the most important relationship that you should be pouring into first is yourself. So you're going to switch your worth from an external place to an internal place. And I want you to start to put your attention into personal development. You are going to make yourself the best product of yourself out there, the best, most highest, most juiciest version. Your worth is no longer based on a relationship. Your worth is no longer based on a man, a female. Your worth is based on the type of personal development and attention you pour into yourself. Let's call this mission Make Myself the Most Highest, Vibrant, Authentic version of me, to where I don't need anything outside of myself because I hold it all within. So if you're taking a moment in your life to take a break from pouring into others or relationships and developing yourself, then you're going to want to start to tap into spaces that allow you to get to know yourself better, that you're going to start to hone in your own skill set, anything that you can do, your health routine, your wellness routine, your morning routine, everything has a purpose when it comes to pouring back into developing the self. If you're switching your standards, if you want higher standards in your life, you must start with yourself. Yourself is a natural byproduct by everything you allow into your life. So what naturally happens over time when you start raising yourself, when you start taking better care of yourself, you start glowing from the inside out, everything in your life around you naturally rises. And as women, we may feel like that is selfish, but it's actually the most selfless thing you can do. You are a natural mirror to your life around you, meaning who you are, what you are, how you live, how you breathe is exactly what you're going to attract back into your life. If you deem yourself unworthy, you will attract in people that validate that subconscious thought. And the way that you take care of yourself and pour into yourself on a daily basis, even sitting here watching this video right now, it naturally raises your self-worth. When you're constantly self-sacrificing and pouring into others, your subconscious is telling you, I'm not even worthy of putting myself first. And though we feel like pouring into others first is a selfless act, it's actually the most selfish act that you can do, because you naturally become less of a better role model, less of a better example. You can't show up as clearly. But when you start to switch to putting yourself first, everything around you again rises. You'll become a better mom. You'll become a better sister. You'll become a better coworker. You'll become a better friend. You'll even be kinder to the person making your coffee, because the energy that you exude out is coming from a base of self-worth and strength. When you're on this brink of change, right? You're switching up old ways of doing things. You're choosing different relationships. You're saying no to the ones that are waving the red flag straight in your face, right? The universe will always bring the same lesson in with a different mask. So the universe, when you're on this brink of change and on the other side is this new, expansive, open way of living, is it will come in and it will throw you a little test. Maybe you're choosing to be more aware around your picker, and you say, no, that last date that I went on, I noticed there were a lot of old things that I would have chose, but I know in the long run don't work out. The universe is throwing you a little test. It's saying, for example, hey, Bailey, do you really want to up-level your life? Or are you really going to go back into old ways of doing things? Or maybe an ex calls you and wants to see you after a long time of not seeing you, and you're on this track of change and up and developing the self. And so when that happens, I want you to take a deep breath, and I want you to honor yourself. I want you to honor your worth, and I want you to honor your strength. And I want you to pass the test. And what's beautiful on the other side of the test, mark my words, and maybe you can go back in a time when this has happened for you personally, the universe will come in and reward you. So you can think the universe is asking you, will you evolve or will you settle? Will you choose somebody else, or are you going to choose yourself this time? You don't need a ring to be respected. You don't need a relationship to be whole, and you don't need a man to define your worth. You are the prize, you always have been, and you always will be. And as cheesy as this sounds, it's so true. Enjoy the journey and quit focusing on the destination. If this resonated with you, send it to another friend. And thank you for tuning in. I hope it really sunk in. Listen to this as many times as you needed to be reminded. And in the meantime, we will see you in the next video. Have a great day.